I call upon Kara Adams to conclude the side proposition.
This clip is going around right now. It's absolutely insane. And I've got to do my own full version reaction.
We should move beyond all meat. So, what we choose
That's fine.
to eat has consequences far beyond the circumference of our plates. Specifically, your vote tonight expresses your allegiance to or rejection of a white supremacist patriarchal worldview.
What? This is from Oxford University in Britain, and it's one of those things where you sit there and you just have to shake your head and go, is this real? There is no way this is real.
Do we vote to further inequality and sustain world-destroying violence?
World-destroying violence is eating meat. You destroy a cow, you're making violence.
In the sexual politics of meat, I introduced the concept of animals as absent reference.
Sorry, what was that word salad? Sexual conference of meat?
In order to be eaten, animals must disappear as living beings.
Well, it'd be kind of hard to eat off a pig and have a slab of bacon if it's still attached to the pig.
That is, be killed. Hamburger, steak, pork, bacon, etc. Even the speaker just before me talked about turkeys. He's talking about dead, butchered turkeys of whom part of their bodies will be eaten.
Actually, in most cultures, or the indigenous culture, we used to eat the entire thing. We'd have each part of it broken down, and you would use each part of the animal. A lot of ranchers know how to use each part of every animal. In indigenous society, we used to turn around and make what's called sinew out of some of the strands of the animals, and you would make a dream catcher out of it using a piece of willow or a stick, and that was supposed to be a symbolization of capturing bad dreams, so you could always forget and move forward. But it was always in a way to honor the way the animal was sacrificed in that sense. This has nothing to do with supremacy or anything like that. There is a long-standing tradition version of going out hunting for your own meat and being hunter carnivores in society.
Meat eaters order leg of lamb, not a baby lamb's leg.
I don't eat something that isn't matured. I try not to eat veal or lambs or stuff that just doesn't do the full lifespan, and then we'll do it, because it bounties more food for everyone to be sustainable, to have a sustainable meal out of it. It just doesn't make sense to me to kill a calf or a baby cow just to get a richer style of the meat.
The animals cannot possess their own body parts. Who disappears and why? 21st century animal eating requires our complicity in a new colonialism.
Colonialism in 21st century, well, it's pretty much non-existent at this point. We're more trying to move into a societal means where we can do things normally and act together as human beings and try and push forward. Honestly, if you want to have a no-meat diet, then do it. There's nothing said that you can't reduce the amount of meat that you eat in a week. That's why a lot of people do like a meatless Monday, the double end Monday, whatever you want to call it. Make it that way. But this colonialism, we're going to invade other lands and take down their cattle, and now we're going to eat meat?
And erase and replace system that forced indigenous people off the land, replacing them with cattle and white settlers.
Oh, hold on. So we're going invading places and replacing the indigenous tribes or the people that live there with cattle?
I recognize today as Indigenous Peoples Day. One of the defining aspects of the colonial legacy is an ongoing white supremacist belief system and an ownership paradigm.
Oh my God, this hurts my brain. Why am I doing this to myself? I gave this video to my wife, the shortened version, which is about 2 minutes. I gave this to my wife, and she said 40 seconds into it, she went, "What are you making me watch?" And I'm not watching another second of it. But for your pleasure viewing, everyone, you get to watch this with me.
When you own the land, you get
The guy gets up. I'm done. I'm out. Yeah, look, I have to point this out. Look at the girl that's sitting there, that is watching her. She's got this shocked look on her face right now, right in the middle. Here, I'll even blow this up so you guys can see it. Look at her face. She is looking at this lady like, what are you on? Where did you get your meat supplement? Because that's what you fed yourself. It's absolutely hilarious. Just the look, like, is this serious? You know, you got the guy that sits there and walks out. You've got the lady right in the middle there that's trying to take notes here. What else is going on here? You've got the one girl on the one side here, which I believe is Jordan Peterson's daughter, and she's the one on the opposition of this debate. So you guys know, if you guys want to watch this whole thing, it's probably quite interesting.
the title to it. Entitlement and ownership are linked.
Entitlement and ownership is linked to eating meat?
All the justifications for the taking of land by white colonial authorities included the claim, well, the Indians can't prove they own the land. Hunting exists within this colonial ownership paradigm. It presumes that animals don't have title to their own lives. Once dispossessed of their lives, the hunted animal can become your property.
Okay, so you're now saying that an animal once hunted, they're no longer they no longer own their property. The animal. We're saying that if you hunt down a cow, if you hunt down a deer, they are no longer part of their property. So what does that make us as human beings then? What are we? Are we not the top of the food chain? If we're not the top of the food chain anymore, then what are we? Are we beneath the deer? Are we the grass the deer is eating? Like, this is called the circle of life.
It's the new colonialism that boasts, I'll hunt for myself and be grateful like the Native Americans. As well, like the Native Americans, I thank the animal for their sacrifice. And I wonder, how do you know the animal would have picked you to feed off their corpse?
So now the animals have their own sentient, and they have to be the ones to tell us and to tell all of us that we can eat it. No, we honored the animal because we knew they were sustaining us. We know the animal is going to help nurture us and actually feed us.
Argument that hunting is ethical presumes that some primeval form of eating exists, unmediated by corrupting influences of society.
Yes, that is 100% sure. That's 100% thing. Before we became Homo sapien, we were Neanderthals that were meat-eating hunter-gatherers. It's called evolution. We don't choose not to eat.
There's no room in the new colonialism for an indigenous worldview to exist. Instead, it collapses more than 100 Native American nations into one amalgam and attributes a static indigenous worldview that erases those nations that were predominantly vegetarian.
No, they weren't. I'm Canadian. I have indigenous background. No, they weren't. What you're talking about here is a hunter-gatherer society that never existed. Yes, there is survival issues of indigenous people today. I am in Canada. I am Canadian. We are seeing a lot of uproar and a lot of things going on right now. And one thing that keeps getting left to the wayside is we have indigenous communities that have no clean drinking water. There's 38 million Canadians right now, and there are certain communities that do not have clean drinking water because the governments aren't doing their job at helping them build water lines or build a well that with a simple basic water treatment to go that way. We have at the University of Alberta, they make a drinking straw that you can take out in the outback of Africa, drink water directly from the thing, and it filters it out, and we don't even see this in our own backyard.
70% of the population would have to be eliminated for people to try to rely on hunting. Percy Shelley pointed out, just after being expelled from Oxford, the quantity of nutritious vegetable matter consumed in fattening the carcass of an ox would afford 10 times the sustenance if gathered immediately from the bosom of the earth.
So what you're proposing here is, instead of feeding the ox to feed us down the line, which actually does a proportional larger amount, and it creates more nutrients for us as human beings, we forego eating the ox and instead eat the ox's salad.
Entire ecosystems are disappearing.
Going to disagree there, because the rainforest was being chopped down for paper, pulp, and everything else, and ranching areas. Now, this in itself is I believe is wrong, and was the original reason why there was a climate change issue back in the 80s and 90s. But today, we're seeing the climate change issue rise up, and now it's an attack on plastics and oils, because they were the solution to having to cut down those rainforests, and that all slowed. But now we don't hear about any of that anymore, and there is a drive to go back to natural products instead of plastics and oils, because they don't break down as easily in the environment. But they are recyclable, and they get reused in so many more products that eventually they break. The idea of a plastic bag can break down is happening.
Acres in the Amazon were cleared for animal-based cattle grazing. And yet tonight at dinner, I saw the lions eaters send meat back.
I'm in Alberta. I mostly, any of the meat that I'm actually eating is raised and born and slaughtered in Alberta. So you're talking about stuff that's happening on the other side of the world, not in your own home area, where a lot of your sustainable meats are coming from. But no, we've got to worry about stuff across the world. These are the disconnect of what's going on here.
So-called free-range animals contribute more greenhouse gases, while killing them in mobile slaughterhouses requires more water than industrial slaughterhouses.
You know what requires more water? Creating a power plant for water cooling. But that water gets recycled over and over and over again. Same thing with the animals. Once again, it's a natural cycle of life.
And leaves behind an immense amount of waste, requiring an intense amount of chemicals in the process.
Much like the water treatment plants that we see in most normal cities.
Your meat may be organic, but your slaughtering isn't. These events especially affect girls and young women.
What?
Your hamburger comes with a dose of misogyny.
What? So now, if we slaughter a cow, it's sexism?
The Western world colonized their space without sending a single beef eater.
Okay. The Western culture colonized without sending a single beef eater. Back in that time, cows, yeah, they've been around, but back when things were settling down and people were looking for new nations, looking for new things, they didn't go so much. They probably wouldn't have had a lot of cows. They probably had more turkeys. They probably had more chickens. They probably had more deer, venison, bison.
It was the colonizers, especially the British, who declared that the virility of meat-eating nations explained their success over the supposed feminine and weak rice-eating countries.
Wasn't feminism something from the 60s? Like seriously. We're going all the way back to where we settled. People went abroad and settled on other countries, and now it's feminism created meat-eating, beef-loving Americans and Canadians and Britons.
Historically, the vast majority of the world lived without animal protein as a central part of their diet.
I would say no, because throughout history, people have used meat to beef up a lot of things. Mostly what it is, what's the bigger part in our diet right now is the additives and everything else that's being pushed into us. Genetically mutated things ultimately are very hindrance on us, but this...
The assumption that the best protein comes from corpses is a racist belief, as it erases and
What?
replaces indigenous African, Asian, Mesoamerican cultural food practices.
If that was the case, then wouldn't we just go to war to cannibalize everyone else?
Meat eating is also one of the ways gender-based structures of oppression are perpetuated. Men in the West are taunted to renew their man card by eating meat because that's what real men do.
So, I will sit there and I will pound back 40 wings. I like myself a big, juicy, meaty steak.
That's the sexual politics of meat, and it reveals how unsettled masculinity really is.
Okay, so here's the next time I'm in the bedroom with the wife, I'm going to fry up a steak, and we're going to devour that steak first.
Back home, my library card is good for 7 years, but a man card can expire between breakfast and lunch if someone eats a veggie burger.
No, the veggie burgers today, I will not even go near because of the amount of additives and the amount of chemicals that are in them.
Masculinity, a construct of the gender binary facing constant destabilization, feels always under threat, and eating animals is its protection racket.
Yeah, I'm sorry. You're making the leap here to say eating processed food is better than eating a basic steak. I would much rather have a steak, a breast off a chicken, fried up on my barbecue, than to sit there and go out and have something that's been completely processed, broken down from the natural fiber of what it originally was. I would love to sit there and eat salad every day, but my body says I can't. That's right. Drink that water.
That's why after 9/11, nope. That's why after 9/11, a focus on men as heroes and on meat eating became part of the reclamation of a wounded masculinity. When a black man was
After 9/11? This goes back to 9/11? How many conspiracies are in one document that she's reading?
elected as U.S. president, we saw how white this wounded masculinity was. White supremacists weaponized it, eating meat, eggs, and dairy. Images of milk-drinking white men, of platters groaning with meat, and the baiting of liberal men as so-called soy boys are all part of the neo-Nazi messaging. This is their right, the neo-Nazis say. This is their identity. The new colonization rests on the unstable foundation of white men's insecurities.
I'm sorry, what? What? I like, look at the guy behind her. He cannot believe this. He's where I'm at right now. I've seen this a few times. I haven't seen the entire thing. This is absolutely gold. I love it. You know what? I love it. I hope her document here gets framed, because it's amazing that this is everything that's amalgamated over the last, 60 to 40 years, 50 years of feminism has gone together to make this vegan document. I want to see this speech. It needs to be held up because it is absolutely amazing.
Which female animals are powerless to resist. There'd be no meat eating without the constant forced reproduction by female animals.
Okay, so let me talk to you about this thing called the birds and the bees.
Yet popular culture is flooded with references to sexy cows, sexy pigs, sexy chickens, sexy fishes.
Get the lipstick out, because we got to make a lipstick out of a pig. Oh, pig, yeah.
Who all just want to have fun. They want to be pregnant.
The guy right behind her is just dying.
And they want to be killed because this feminized sexuality wants to be eaten.
Animals, like human beings, just want to live. They want to live. However, the inevitable heat death of ourselves is inevitable. Life goes on, life continues. And if you really want to put yourself in a higher state of mind and go into the whole details that saying that if you're killing animals, you're doing a disservice to yourself, then fine. That's up to you. I don't care. Myself personally, I'm going to still be part of the food chain. I'm still going to be at the top of the food chain and still going to eat my meat burger with a suplex of bacon on it today, because I gotta tell you, this has been something absolutely I've had to do this. I'm so relieved at going through this video one more time from the original version of the video. I know this is going to get clipped down for you guys, but I love every bit of this.
They accept a patriarchal construct that views feelings as unruly and untrustworthy, causing chaos.
That's it. You're no trust anymore. That's right. I've given myself up. I'm a changed man. I need to go vegan, even though my body says I can't.
To say you care about animals is considered a sign of weakness in a world still committed to the gender binary that values stereotyped masculine reason over stereotyped feminine feeling and wants order.
What kind of words? Okay, your word salad was enough for me to actually fuel my stomach. I think I need to go have a salad, put some dressing on it, maybe some milk. I don't know.
And yet the reasons we hear are so irrational. If I did not eat animals, they never would be born. Meat eaters like anti-abortionists have forgotten that one quality of non-existence is not having awareness about existence. Meat eaters say, why, if we put prisoners to work in slaughterhouses in England, they will be learning a skill.
So is this the analogy of this is society with extra steps and slavery with extra steps from Rick and Morty?
I did not know that killing was a skill generalizable to other jobs.
Well, there's other things than just killing. You learn how to butcher your meat. You learn how to grind the meat. You learn how to dispose of the meat. You learn how to eat the meat.
The new colonialist boasts, I only eat meat from locally owned farms, and I know the farmers there love their animals. If killing what one loves is standard practice, I hope they don't start loving me. What about carrots? What about carrots, we're asked, though I've never seen a meat eater leap into the road to save a carrot from being run over by an automobile.
Well, first off, carrots generally don't run in front of vehicles, where a fox, a coyote, maybe a bear, or a deer will jump in front of a vehicle. Do we see people stopping in the middle of the roads for these things? Yes. Do we see them run them over all the time? Yes. Is it very gross and bloody? Yes. I tell you, I had the opportunity to work in a slaughterhouse once. I said nope.
When all else fails, meat eaters assert that animals are not our equals. One would think such an equality would require us to respond more, not less sympathetically. Meat eaters tell me it's so hard to change, and yet I watch them work even harder not to change. So, is our global outcome to be determined by people afraid to change who are going to hold on to some old conceived notion of power?
No power here, lady. This literally comes down to I'm hungry.
Change may be hard, but not changing is harder. Tonight, you're being asked to vote on whether you accept this new colonialism or not. Our menu choices don't stay on the plate. And I heard all your laughter. I know some of these must be new ideas, or you think they're fringe or whatever. Our whiteness is part of the problem of meat eating. It really is. So your vote tonight is important, but even more important is the question of what or who will be on your plate in the morning. Sweet dreams.
Oh my God. I love it. I love it. The absolutely absurdity of that. Now, I have to say, I did take debate class when I grew up, when I went through high school, and I believe that's more what that felt like, this was a one side versus the other side debate. Now, I don't know Oxford University or Society, Union Society is where that is from. They are in Britain, obviously, and I don't know much about them. They're Oxford Union. They have 1.47 million subscribers, and I think there's a lot of information there. If you're a higher knowledge type of person, I think it's something fun and exciting to go through, and I think the stance that she took, I think, is amazing in and all purposes. Everything out there, I think, was great. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with her having these worldviews, having these views overall. Do I believe any of this? God, no. I think that a lot of people will be a lot smarter and be able to choose for themselves. She does make a few good points, but at the same time, it's very fun to react to something like this. I didn't see the whole thing before. I only saw a cut down version. And of course, you guys will probably see the cut down version here that I will put together. And you guys have a great day. Thanks for watching. This is Proud Canadian Phoenix signing off. I hope you like this off the cuff sort of comical thing that I found online, because it, to me, is absolutely amazing. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you all again very soon.